Okay. Hey everybody, welcome to FabFit Friday. I'm happy to be back in my studio from, all right, let me just see here. I'm sorry, from being at So Expo, which I also had a really nice time. It was my first time teaching at So Expo, and I have to say, if I hadn't had Katrina Walker to help me navigate the fairgrounds, I might have been in a little bit of trouble because it was, a brand new venue for me, and it was really kind of spread out. One of my classes was, so my first class at 8 a.m. was in the baby lock serger room, and then I had to go to this other area to do my pattern grading class, and thank goodness Katrina had her car on the fairgrounds so we could just drive ourselves over to it because it was quite a hike. So I'm super grateful to Katrina for taking me under her wing and for, just hanging out with me and Carol from Ditto Form. We all had an Airbnb. It was really, really fun. Oh, and her, Carol has someone who works with her, Sarah. She was also very nice. And, it was just a really nice week in Puyallup, Washington. It was really fun to see the different geography. Well, I don't know about geography, but like the foliage and the trees. Hi, Mary. Welcome. I'm just talking a little bit about Puyallup in the So Expo. I really had a wonderful time. I got to spend a lot of time in the booth, primarily with the ladies from the Walnut Creek ASG, where I have taught in the past. So it was really nice to catch up with them. And I got to hang out with Nick, and that was a lot of fun. Let me just stop. Oh, nice color on you today. Thank you, Mary. One of the things that I did to get ready to go to So Expo was I actually sewed the buttons on my shirt. And if you remember, they're all different antique buttons, pearl buttons from my mother's collection. So they're all a little bit different. But now I officially have buttons on my shirt, so I thought I would wear it today. It's like the perfect topper for when I'm feeling kind of warm. Hey, Sally, you missed the first few minutes, but I love hearing your comparison between Stitches Live and So Expo. I haven't been to either, and I wondered which one to go to if I have to choose. Thanks. Okay, so normally I teach at, I'm having a hot flash. Can you see how pink my face is? My face is going to be the color of my shirt. Woo! Yeah, no, that's a hot flash, Mary. Hi, Amelia, welcome. So the difference between a Stitches live event and Puyallup, in my opinion, is there's a very small contingency of sewing classes in a predominantly knitting, fiber arts, weaving, crochet show that Stitches has. I love teaching at Stitches. I think it's my favorite place to teach. And for me, it opens up a whole new candy store of things that I can get myself in trouble with in terms of, yarn and different knitting things. Oh my God, I'm really having a hot flash. So I'm sorry. But anyway, so it really, it kind of depends. If you want to really immerse yourself into sewing, I think So Expo had a lot more to offer in terms of, the different kinds of classes, and all of the major sewing educators were there, or many of them were, I should say, like a lot of the popular sewing teachers. I even got to have a hug with Angela Wolf, which was super fun. I've not seen her since the last Novi show that I was at. That was the last time I saw her in person, so that was fun. Let me just stop and say hi, Francis. Francis, your pattern is winging its way to you in the mail. I recognize your name and from Canada, so I know that's coming your way. Hi, Diane. Welcome. Um, so I'm wearing my nice pink, well, reddish pink linen top that I made, my shirt jacket. I'm having a hot flash, so now my face is matching my shirt. And if you missed it, I'll just stand up and show you. I put the buttons, oops, that's this one right here. I put the buttons on the front of the shirt, and if you remember, they're all different antique buttons from my mother's collection, so they're all slightly different. So I did do that. Hey, DIYer girl. I met DIYer girl in person at Puyallup. That was really fun. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so if you remember, before I left for Puyallup, I was finishing up the Sorcha Classic Slim Trouser Sew Along, and I just want to show you my finished red linen and tan cotton pants. I want you to know I wore them. I wore the red ones Friday during the fashion show, and then I wore the tan ones Saturday and Sunday. They were so comfortable. So let me just show you how they look. Now, I stayed at an Airbnb that had a washing machine, so I actually washed these. Well, I didn't wash the red pair because I wanted to hang them to dry, but I did wash the tan pair, so you can see how the buttonhole is hanging out, holding up after being washed. So I'll show you how the finished buttons and buttonholes look. I'll show you the blind hem on the red pants, and then I'm going to show you how to do blind hem buttonholes and put buttons on the machine. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Oh, DIY girl says, pretty shirt jacket. Thank you, thank you. Judy says, hi Jen, it was so nice to meet you in Puyallup. You are tall in person. I have my pants fabric. Hopefully can get to it soon as I'm still working on my dress. Oh, Judy, it was so nice to meet you too. I have to say, it's been a long time that I've been at a major sewing event and have spent a lot of time in a booth because I was only teaching the first day and then I had some quick 45-minute talks later in the week. So I was in the booth quite a bit, and people would come up to me and they would be like, oh, I follow you on YouTube, or, it's so nice to meet you on YouTube. That just, I don't know, that made my heart so happy to meet so many different people who follow along with me, and they told me their sewing stories and what they were working on or how they were inspired, and it really was such an amazing experience for me. And I want you to know I appreciate each and every one of you, whether you came to visit me at my booth or not, or whether you were at Puyallup or not. I just want you to know that, I really look forward to these Fridays where I can hang out with you guys, and it was just so nice to meet some of you in person. Super fun. All right. So, and also I will tell you the most common thing people said to me is, you're taller than I thought you would be. So I thought that was kind of fun. All right. So let me switch my view here, and we are going to look at these pants. Let me see if I can get it so you can see the pants. I'm going to make it a little bit sharper. Oh, DIY girl says, you've inspired a lot of us. You are so talented and a great teacher. Oh, well, thank you so much. Those are such kind words. All right, so I want to show you. All right, these are the tan pants. And I chose, this is one of my grandmother's solid metal buttons from her stash. It's a really heavy button. Like, I feel like they don't make buttons like this anymore. Well, they probably do, but you have to go find them. So this is my gold button I put on my tan pants. And I want you to look really closely at this buttonhole. Oops. Let me zoom right in as far as I can here to show you. This buttonhole has been washed and worn already, and look at what good condition it's in. I'm going to show you how to do this buttonhole in a little bit. Mary wants to know how tall I am. I used to be 5'11 3/4, but I've actually shrunk down to like 5'10 1/2. And I'm going to be 55 next month. So I guess, my being in the 50s, I guess I'm starting to shrink now, but I guess I am a sort of tall. Used to be taller. Judy agrees with DIY. Judy also says, There was a booth in Puyallup that had amazing antique buttons. I bought so many. Oh my God. Next Friday, I will show you my fabric haul from So Expo. I ended up spending way more money and buying way more fabrics than I intended to. I really didn't want to spend a lot of money there. But of course, you see stuff and you want to get it. So I'll share that with you next Friday, along with a fun, we're going to take a break. Well, oh no, I probably will finish it already. I'll just show you a picture. I'm going to make my dad a little shopping bag because he brings his little shopping bag with him to visit my mom, and it's literally in tatters. So I bought some splash fabric, which I think I can show you the splash fabric. Wait, hold on. All right, so this is one of the fabrics I got. And if anybody is interested in, this is just a little sidebar, hold on. So if anybody needs to have fabric that's laminated, but also has a, look at how nice and soft this is. This is laminated fabric that's perfect for, you know, tote bags, aprons, tablecloths, anything where you need to have you know, a waterproofing that wipes, the surface wipes. I bought this to make a tablecloth, but I'm also going to use it to make my dad, literally, I'm going to reproduce his little paper shopping bag that has the little shoelace strings. You know, it's a little bag. It's about maybe a foot tall, you know, maybe 8 or 9 inches wide. So I'm going to be making this over the weekend, and I'll share in our group how I'm making this. So this is Splash Fabrics. They're very, very nice. And I will tell you that if you order things from them, they are really trying to invigorate the, you know, sewing in and around Seattle, because one of the major textile manufacturers, or some sewing, I didn't pay attention, so I apologize, but some sewing business moved all of their jobs out of the US, and so they're trying to help, you know, build that back up. So they do have really nice fabrics. And then DIYer Girl says they're quality brand and their fabrics are environmentally friendly. So really kind of cool. Let me just see here. Oh, hi Lean, welcome. And Judy can't wait for the rest of my fabric haul. I'm going to show you the rest of it next week. And then Judy also says, I got a gift from my mother-in-law. She took care of my 4-legged baby. Your steampunk panel. Ooh. And oh, Frances used to be taller too. Your 2-day, you just had your birthday. You're 74. Frances, happy birthday. Yeah, I think we get shorter as we get older. So anyway. Okay, so back to the pants. These are my tan ones, and basically I just wanted to show you how they looked completely finished, washed. So you can see they're still in really good, you know, I did not press these after I washed them. I just washed them. So there's that pair. And then here is the button I chose for the red linen pair. And again, this buttonhole has really held up. You can see, let me just zoom in so you can see it. So see that nice buttonhole. Okay, and the other thing I want to show you on the red pair is the blind hem, which I'm going to show you how to do today. I was really kind of embarrassed 2 Fridays ago when I wanted to show you how to do a blind hem, and I couldn't find my blind hem foot. So you can see this hem is pretty blind. So, and you can see here what it looks like on the inside. Okay, so that's how it looks on the inside. Let me just make this a little bit sharper. There we go. So that's what I'm going to show you to do today. So sometimes if you don't want top stitching, you know, around your hem, I'm going to show you how to do a blind hem. Amelia wants to know if those are the Sorcha pants. Yes, they are. And if you check my Instagram, I did post some pictures wearing both of them at the show, and I'm going to use one of these to I'm going to use one of these for the cover of my pattern, so I have an actual, you know, pair of pants on the cover. I think it's going to be the tan pair, because remember, this pair, I at the knee, I added 3/4 of an inch to the side and inseam. And that gave me 3 extra inches of ease on the leg to make a looser leg for linen fabric. So these are technically not the Sorcha Classic Slim Trousers as they come in the envelope. And if we compare, I just want to compare the hem for you so you can see. This is the true width of the pattern. So you can see the difference here. Oh, I guess I must have added even a little bit more, because look at the difference between, let me do it all on one side. So I guess it's, well, maybe 4 inches. Maybe I added an inch, but you can see the difference in width. If I line them up, this is the width of the leg on the pattern. This is what I added to make it more loose fitting on the leg. All right, let's see. Amelia says that hem is blind as a bat. It definitely is. Well, and of course, if you're working with a loosely woven fabric like linen and you choose a thread that blends in, the little stitches, if I have a microscope here, I can see them. So, you know, the stitches are there a little bit, but the fabric makes, you know, they hide in the weave of the linen. Mary says, besides your wonderful knowledge, I love that you are in your sewing room and can't find things like the rest of us. Oh, well, all right. When I got off, I was looking for, if you remember 2 weeks ago, I was looking for these 2 feet so I could show you how to use them, the blind hem, and this is sew a button-on foot. They fell, my accessory case fell over, and I had picked everything up off the floor. Well, where they were was in the bed riser. It's like a little cup for the leg of the table to sit in. Well, they were in there with the leg of the table. That's why I couldn't find them. But I have them now, and I'm going to show you how to use them. Oh, Judy says, OMG, thanks. Thank you, Jen, for adding the cutting line for the flat booty on the Sorcha pattern. Yes, I did in the back. There are 2 crotch lines. One's for a average or full butt, and one is for a flat butt. So use the red dash line for the flat butt. In the front, the angled center front is if you have a defined waist. So those diagonal, those angled lines do something different depending on whether you're in the front or the back leg. All right, I'm going to move these out of the way now because I'm going to show you. Oh, by the way, I just want you to know, I've always said to myself, I am not a lover of pockets, but I stood in these. I'm going to put them upside down like they're on my body, and I literally stood in these with my hands in my pockets. Look how big these pockets are. I would stand wearing these, and I put my hands in my pockets. I could put my lip balm in there. So I think I'm changing my mind about pockets. So I did love these pockets. All right. So now let's look at what I have to show you. I made a little pretend leg that I'm going to show you how to do a blind hem on. So you can see here, all I've done here so far is press it up. So the first step to doing a blind hem is to press your hem up so that it's the finished length that you want. Okay, and you know that I am a sew tight lover. And what I will tell you is, before I hemmed my red linen pants, just going to show you here. One of the things was I hung up my pants, and then I took 2 of the bigger sew tights, like, you know, this Magnum sew tight, which is a little bit heavier because it's longer, and I basically put it on the side seam and the inseam like this. Okay, and I hung them up, and I allowed the hem, this is before I folded it up, like before I hemmed it, I put it on the side and inseam like this, and I hung them up, and that helped the side and inseam to stretch into its final position. So when I went to do the hemming, I didn't get any funny pickup, you know, after I hemmed it and washed it or anything. So these sew tights make good pattern weights to weight your hem in addition to using them for sewing. So I wanted to point that out. Oh, and I did get to meet the ladies from So Tight. And actually they emailed me and asked me if I wanted to work in their booth in Paducah, which for a heartbeat I thought would be so much fun. But then I was already teaching some of the dates of the show, so I couldn't say yes to that. But I thought that was very nice that they thought of me. I kept sending people to their booth from So Expo because I was telling everyone how much I love these So Tights. But basically, you can use them to, weight down your hems. All right, so how do you fold your hem for a blind hem? So after you get the hem pressed, and you'll notice I did press this already, so I have a nice crease on my actual hem. Okay, so the next step is you pull the hem up, fold it up like this so you can see the inside of your leg. Oh, Judy bought the pin magnet from them. Yes, that is nice. I have mine right here. I love it. See, so I can put my little pin magnet on. So see, there you are. There's my little pin magnet. Okay, so let's see. DIYer girl says, if you serge the side seam when you fold the hem, do you clip the side seam at the fold and move it so it's nestled next to each other? Hope that makes sense. Yes, you can. All right, so sometimes, well, let me just turn this inside out. So let's pretend this was sewn and, sewed and finished with the serger, the side seam and inseam. If it's folded like this and it's a lightweight fabric, I'll just leave them on top of each other. But if you have a heavyweight fabric, you can clip your seam right at the fold like this and press it in the opposite direction like this so they won't be bulky, and then fold it back up. Okay, but if it's a lightweight fabric, you can leave them on top of each other. So it just depends on the weight of your fabric, but sometimes I'll clip it down here and then I'll offset them to make this less bulky. I don't know if that's what you were asking me, but I do clip the seam allowance and flip it sometimes. Lean says, finish my Sorcha pants in cotton twill. The pockets are large indeed, but the pockets don't stand open when wearing. Just had some problems with the waist height. Fitting on your one is not easy. Fitting on your one is not easy. You mean fitting yourself is not easy? Pockets don't stand open. So, Lean, are you saying the pockets stayed shut when you were wearing them? I hope that's what you're saying. But then you're saying you had some problems with the waist height. Fitting on your one is not easy. You know what? The first couple of times I made pants, my waistband was higher than I wanted it to be. And it really had to be a thing that I fine-tuned. So when I make my pants now, I don't cut the front pocket detail until I double check the height of the waistband to make sure it's where I want it. And then I'll cut the pocket detail after I'm sure it's where it should be, so I don't lose any of the opening. But I did have trouble with that on my first few times. All right, so now that we have that straight, I'm going to turn this right side out. And again, to fold this for a blind hem, you're going to pull the whole thing out. So you've got a little extra fabric. Well, you just want to see the finished edge of your hem. And what you're going to do is you're going to fold it back on itself. And here's why I really like to use this is why I like to use a serged edge, because I'm going to fold the fabric right on the base of the serged edge like this. And I'm going to use my pins, my magic pins that I'm in love with, to hold this down like this. And I'm just going to go right along. And you want to make sure that this fabric is laying flat against this, so there's no extra in there. And then, you know, I'm just going to go right around. You just work a little bit at a time, like this. Okay. And see how I'm just finger pressing it into position like this. Now the goal here is we're going to want to sew our blind hem so it's just catching a thread or two of this folded edge when we get to the sewing machine. All right, so Lean says, no, the pockets are nice. Normally I don't wear pockets with side pockets since they enhance the width of my hips. These Sorcha pockets don't. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. I was worried about that too. Like sometimes they gape open. And on my red ones, what I did was I just pulled the, after I finished the pocket and top stitch it, I pulled this up like 1/8 of an inch and caught it in the waist, so it pulled up just that little bit higher, and they did stay nice and closed. Also, if you stabilize that before you finish it with some stay tape, that helps keep it from stretching as well. But I did pull it up like that little 1/8 of an inch, like I pulled it up just to shorten it that tiny bit. But you can see, you can't tell. Yeah. Okay. And actually, this pocket is more of a vertical detail, so anything vertical is going to be more flattering than something that's, you know, cuts across you. All right, so you can see here I've got this nicely pinned, right, all the way around. Now we're going to go to the sewing machine, and before we stitch on it, I'm just going to show you the two different blind hems that you can have. Let me just make this so it's a better angle. All right, let's do that. Okay, I'm just going to lower it a little bit more. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing here. Let's get this nice and sharp. Okay. So I could zoom in a little bit more. That's as much as I can zoom in. Okay, so I'm going to take off the regular foot, the standard A foot, and I'm going to put the blind hem foot on. I want to point out to you, sometimes a blind hem foot will have a little dial on the side that you can move this guide left or right. So you can move it farther or closer to the needle. This one's a static or fixed guide. So the way you adjust it for width is by adjusting the width of the actual stitch. And what I want to do is I want to show you, if I can find my little thread guide, my little stitcher guide here. There's two kinds of blind hems on many sergers. I just want to point them out to you. So see how we've got this one and this one right here, and you can see, I think, one of them is a straight stitch, a line of straight stitching, and then it jumps out to catch the fold, and then it straight stitches and it jumps out to catch the fold. That's the one you're going to use for woven fabrics. So this one right here, number 18. 19 has little zigzags. So the stitch actually zigzags and then jumps, and that's for knits. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how those stitch out. So it's, the stitches are 18 and 19. And I'm just going to stitch, this is my little, I made a heavyweight waistband to show you how to sew a buttonhole in a minute. I'm just going to use the edge of it here, this other side of it, to show you the difference between the two blind hems, just so you can see. So basically I'm going to pick, let's do 18 first. Oops, 18. Oops. And I'm going to just stitch it and show you what happens. So that's the default, but I want to show you if I make it wider, I'm going to make it as wide as it can go. Let me show you this here. that's not very impressive. Let me switch to black thread here. I want you to be able to see the stitching. Hold on. So that tan colored thread, you can see how it blends in with the machine. That's the color I use to stitch the blind hem on, you know, on my actual pants. Let me just put black in here so you can see what's happening. Oops, hold on, just gotta thread this. In case you're wondering, yes, I did break my needle threader. All right, let me show you again. All right, so the default, oh, let me just, okay, so here is the stitch. And what I want to show you is as it gets wider, okay, I think you can see here the jumps. Oh no, is it the other one? Wait a minute, hold on. I think I used the, oh yeah, all right. All right, so I can make my jumps. If I adjust the stitch length, I can make the jumps farther apart. So see how far apart those jumps are versus how close they are here. And it's hard to see in this picture because the adjustment for width is very slight, but you can adjust the width of the stitch so it grabs slightly less or slightly more of the fold. The tips of these little V's, that's where we want to catch the fold. So this is the blind hem for the woven fabric, meaning if you're working with wovens. Now, if you're working with knits, I just want to show you the difference right here. It actually zigzags back and forth and then jumps. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow some give in the hem on stretch fabric. So see how this almost looks like a heart monitor, you know, because you've got the little zigzags between the jumps. Okay, so we want to do the one with the straight stitching, not the zigzags in this case. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my fabric under the needle and I'm going to put the guide. So you can see the guide is right on the fold. So I'm putting the guide on the fold. I'm going to take this first pin out here and I'm just going to choose my, oops, my 18. Let's just see what it stitches like. I'm going to stitch for a little bit. I'm just going to go a little bit of the way and I want to show you what it's catching and we'll see if we need to make an adjustment. All right, so you can see here, see how the little catches are just catching the fold. And if I open it up, let me take this pin out so you can see. I just want to take it out where I sewed it already. So right here, just going to get rid of this pin too so I can unfold it. All right, so you can see that that's kind of visible. I mean, it's okay, but we want to try to catch a little bit less than that. See, because you can see this, the bites. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my stitch length, or I'm sorry, my width a little bit narrower. I'm going to go down to 0.4 and let's try it again and let's see if we can get less of a bite. So I highly recommend practicing your blind hem on a scrap of fabric before you do your actual hem. All right, so let me just make this really clear so you guys can see what I'm doing. Let me tilt it this way a little bit so you can see. All right, so I'm going to start stitching again. Now I can physically hear it hitting the folded fabric. It makes like a little bit of a louder thud. Okay, and so these holes are slightly smaller, but they're still a little bit big. And see, this is what happens. You really have to make sure that you keep the guide right on the fold, because here I missed a stitch. See, there's no stitch there. These are a little bit smaller. I'm going to go down to 0.3 and see what that looks like. So it's all about getting your mojo going and, you know, playing with the position of, or the width of the stitch, especially when your guide is static. Okay, so let's see. Aline says better change the thread color. Yeah, if I were, okay, so obviously if you're doing this on real pants, you want to match the color of the thread to your fabric so you don't see it. I wanted to show you what it looks like. That's why I'm using black. Okay, let's see what this looks like now. Yeah, I can still see them, but you can see they're getting smaller, and if I keep playing with it, I probably can even get a little bit smaller. But let me switch the color thread now and show you how they blend in if you're using a thread that matches your fabric. So I had the black in there to show you that, you know, I wanted to show you the size of the bite I was getting, but let me now show you how it looks with this tan colored thread. Gray and tan, this tan and the gray, they make really good chameleon kind of colors depending on what your fabric color is. So I didn't have the right red, so that's why I went with this tan. The red I had was a little bit too dark, so this actually worked out to be more subtle. So now I'm gonna do this last little bit in the tan thread, and let's see how that looks. And then I'll show you how less visible it is. So of course, the finer your fabric, the more it's going to show. That's the other thing. But you can see here, where's my tan? All right, so here's my tan, and you can see how nicely that blends in, and it is attached. See, I did catch it. Okay, but notice how you can't see those little picks. Let me just make it a little bit sharper. Okay, so by using a thread that does not, that matches your fabric, look how blind that is with those little picks. Okay, now I want to show you how to press a blind hem because the direction matters. So let me just, all right, I think I can show you like that. All right, I'm going to get my little pressing thing. And what you're going to do is you want to press your hem this way. Okay, so you want to go this way. You never want to go in the direction of the fold. So you're always going perpendicular to the fold. And this way I'm going to press it, and then I can show you all the way around. I can show you what you can see with the black, and then how it looks with the you know, how it looks with the navy. I'm just going to squirt my fabric. I'm going to give it a little extra. I didn't put water in my iron, so I'm just going to give it a little splash of. All right, so you're going to see this is going to come out really, really nice. But it only takes a second to sew a sample like this up, and then you can be sure that you're going to have a nice blind hem on your fabric, on your actual pants. All right, so let's look at this now up close. So here's where I was using the black thread. Well, let me get a little bit closer so you can see. Okay, so there's the black. All right, and then you can see, I'll go over to the tan and see how you can't even really see it. See, you can see a little bit of the like there's a stitch right here, you know, but it's really pretty blind. And notice how the crease went away. Looks perfectly lovely. So that's how you do a blind hem. So if you have any questions or comments about that, or if you need help with that, please let me know and I will help you with that. It's the first thing I wanted to share today. The next thing I want to show you is, we're going to pretend this is a waistband here. And what I did was I like tripled it up to make it kind of thick like a waistband. And I'm going to show you how to make a custom buttonhole without using the buttonhole foot. That's what I'm going to show you next. So what I'm going to do is I am going to find one of my chalk markers, and maybe I'll get out my what did I do with my I don't know where all my little goodies are from Taylor Seville, so I'm going to use my Clover little chalk liner here. And let's set the stage for this. This is not the best sample, actually. I should have had some pants attached to it. So let me draw a picture here. Okay, so I'm going to draw a picture and a little illustration to show you. So here is our waistband. And here's the pants underneath it, right? And here is our fly detail. Okay, so let's pretend that's our fly top stitching, like this, whatever. I like to put my buttonhole so it's centered both in the fly detail. So like if the fly detail kept going, I like to center my buttonhole there, and I usually like to start it like a scant quarter from the center front edge. So if this was exactly straight, like this, I would start it a 1/4 inch and I would center it in the waistband vertically, but also horizontally, I would center it in the area that's above the fly. So that's how I would position it. So we're going to pretend this has fabric underneath it and our fly is here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make myself, that's yucky. Hold on. Let me just clip this thing out of the way here. I got my little serge tail all caught up in my stitching. Okay, so I'm going to mark, like I said, a scant quarter from the end of my waistband like that. So you can see that line, right? Then I'm going to find the center of my waistband and make a little mark. And then let's pretend my zipper, this represents where the outside of the fly top stitching is. So I want to put my buttonhole right there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw myself a guideline like this. So it looks like this. And my stop of my buttonhole is going to be right here. So I've got a start and a stop within the area that I would, so within the area where the top stitching would be. Okay, does anybody have any questions about that? And the reason why I'm showing you how to do this without an actual buttonhole foot is because sometimes when you're sewing your buttonhole, it can, you know, the seam allowances in there can be really heavy, and it can cause the buttonhole foot not to advance back and forth. Now, if you follow along with me, you know I do spend a lot of time embroidering my buttonholes with my embroidery machine. But if you don't have an embroidery machine, I wanted to kind of give you a different option here. So for this technique, I am going to use a clear foot so I can see what I'm doing. And basically what I'm going to do is make sure that my thread is still threaded. I mean, my needle is still threaded here. And it's wrapped around my needle. Let me just fix that so I don't have any issues. My thread is wrapped around my needle. Okay, so I was able to untangle it without unthreading it, so I get a gold star. And I am going to put my zigzag. So I'm going to go to my regular zigzag stitch, and I'm going to make my zigzag like 0.19, so really narrow, and I'm going to make my stitch length like 0.4 or 0.45. Okay, stitch width just under 2 millimeters, length 0.45. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start stitching along my line, but not on my line. So right now I'm stitching below the line. And then when I get to the end point, I'm going to stop, cut my thread. I'm going to back up. Okay, so there's 1/2 of my buttonhole. I'm going to back up and I'm going to start the other side, and I'm just going to make sure when the needle swings towards the line, it's giving me a little breath between the first row. So I'm just going to hand walk the first couple of stitches to make sure I like where it is. And then I'm essentially just going to stitch right next to the original. Now when I get to the end of the buttonhole here, I am going to lift my needle and I'm going to increase the width of my buttonhole to double that. So if I was at 1.9, I'm going to go to like, I'm going to go to 4.2. And you're going to see what's going to happen is I'm going to center my presser foot in the middle of those 2 stitches, and it's basically going to cap off. I just do like 3 or 4 stitches and then do my automatic tie off. So that's tied off. Okay, so you can see now I've got one end of my buttonhole all finished. So then I'm just going to go back to the beginning or the starting point and tie and cap off the other end of my buttonhole. And I'm not putting my feed dogs down, I'm just preventing it from going, like I'm holding it in place. You're only going back and forth like 4 or 5 times. Automatic tie off. And you can see this makes a really nice, no fuss, no muss, balanced looking buttonhole. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to treat the buttonhole with fray check. And I like to treat it on the top. Like, so I run a bead right in the middle. And then I turn it around and I also treat the back. And I would let this completely dry. Okay, and I would snip all my little threads as well. And somebody told me that if you iron your fray check dry, it makes it softer. So if you want to iron it, you can. I'm not gonna bother ironing it dry, but basically that's how you do a buttonhole. Now let's say you wanted to do you wanted to cut your buttonhole with a seam ripper. The way I do that, and I'm just going to use one of my Taylor Seville seam ripper. I have to say this seam ripper is very comfortable because it has a rubber grip that's really nice to hold on to, and it's really, really sharp. So see, this is what my thing looks like here. I am going to show you how I cut this off. Oh, Brenda says this buttonhole technique is awesome. Oh, and Judy says, I love this buttonhole. Thank you guys. This is just an easy sort of like cheater way to do it. I mean, not cheater, but you know, just, you don't have to pray that your presser foot is going to get around, I guess. All right, so what I want to show you now is to cut the buttonhole open. First, you're going to let this dry. I'm not going to let it dry, but basically you start on one end and I go about halfway. Then I turn, then I turn it around and I'll start here at the other end. And as I start to go, I'm going to lift the tip of the seam ripper up so there's no way it can cut through the end of my button. So you can see that that makes a nicely cut buttonhole. Okay. And then here's a tip for sewing your buttons on. Obviously, if you've got your waistband like this, right? Let's pretend, oops, let me turn it this way. Here's my finished little mini sample, right? Where do you think the buttonhole gets sewn on? You don't want to center it. Where's my little pointer thing? Hold on. I have my little pointer thing here somewhere. Here it is. So you don't want to center it here. And the reason why you don't want to center your buttonhole right here is because that's going to allow the waistband to pull open from the center this way, right? So see the play you're going to get if you put your buttonhole in the middle of your buttonhole. You want to put the buttonhole maybe a 1/4 inch from the end of your button over here. That way it can't pull away and cause the zipper to gap. Mary says, oh, I can never sew a button on a button with my machine. Well, I'm going to show you how I do it, Mary, and maybe you'll be inspired. So here is where I'm going to sew my button on. I'm going to punch a hole there just to give me a guide. So there's where I'm going to sew it. I'll just make a little mark so you can really see. Okay, that's where I'm going to center my buttonhole, where that blue dot is. And the way I'm going to sew my buttonhole on is I'm going to use a pin and some Scotch tape. Now the pin is going to act like a spacer for the to give it some breathing room so you're not jamming it, like sewing it tightly onto the actual fabric. So what we're going to do here is we are going to find the button that I pulled out to show you. It's got to be here somewhere. Oh, here it is. I chose one with 4 holes so I can show you, how to do one with 4 holes. So I'm going to make sure I center that button on the mark I made. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of Scotch tape like this. I'm going to take a pin, and I'm going to use one of my longer pins. Remember I showed you last week I had shorter and longer pins. I'm going to use one of the longer ones because what I want to do is I'm going to put the pin on the Scotch tape like this, and then I'm going to center it between the holes like this. So basically, again, I also want to make sure I'm positioning it right on that dot. Okay, so now you can see what I've done is I've positioned it on the dot. I have the pin underneath the Scotch tape like this. That's going to provide a shank, not a shank, but like a spacer so I don't nail that button on so tight that you can't get it through the buttonhole. It's going to give me some breathing room. Then I'm going to take this presser foot off, and I'm going to put this one on. This is the Sew the Button On presser foot that comes with my my Janome 6700P. And I'm just going to attach that. Okay. And then it's got like this rubber feet, so I can, I can either do crisscross or I can do it straight. I'll just do these straight. And I'm going to put that there. I'm going to put my feed dogs down because I don't want my feed dogs to be pulling at the fabric. Lean says, then the button is not centered above the fly when it's closed. It's better to shift the buttonhole to the right so that the button is better, so the button is in the middle. You can absolutely do that if you want to. You can see, let me just bring back a finished one. Let me just show you what Lean's talking about here. I mean, it's not, it is off to the side, but I don't like my, oops, it is off to the side a little bit, but I'd rather, I mean, it's up to you. Either have your buttonhole, start your buttonhole back so that you can put the button in the middle of the fly. You can absolutely do that. Mine is off to the center. So that's a really good point, Lean. If you want the button to be in the center, then you're going to put the end of your buttonhole so it's in the center. But then your buttonhole is going to extend this way, and that's fine too. Part of the reason why I really don't care that the button is over here is because if I were ever going to, you know, I don't think I'd ever wear it tucked in. And if I did wear it tucked in, it probably would have a blouse over and you wouldn't really see the button that much. So that is a very, very good point. So if you wanted to, start your buttonhole in the middle. So when you sew it on, it is in the middle of your fly. So I'm going to give Lean a gold star for that. April says, I like the buttonhole better than my buttonhole foot. Yay. Well, like I said, it's an easy way to do it, and then you're not praying that it makes it back around. All right, so notice here, I'm going to pick my buttonhole stitch, which is 32, and my feed dogs are down. Did I put my feed dogs down? I'm going to put them down. All right, and then I'm going to hand walk it because you want to make sure the needle is going to swing into the buttonhole, into the hole. So see how it's hitting here? That's because it's not wide enough. So there is an adjustment on your machine to make it wider. So I'm going to make it 4.5. Now, see how it hits both holes? Once it hits both holes, all you have to do is press on the gas. Oops, put the presser foot down. And it ties off for you and everything. Okay, so then after you do that one, you just advance it forward to do the second set of holes. And again, I'm going to hand walk it to make sure it's lining up, and then I'm going to let it rip. And again, it's going to tie off for me. Okay. So let's look at this. I could have used my thread snips actually. Okay. So you can see now, I'm going to take the Scotch tape off and I'm going to take the pin out and see really what that pin did for me was, see, it gives me a little bit of ease or clearance. So when I go to put that into the actual buttonhole, there's room for the fabric to be underneath the buttonhole. Does that make sense? So it's not clamped down so tight. So that's how you do a button, a buttonhole, and a blind hem. The 3 B's, that's what we did today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I certainly had a lot of fun with this. I want to show you one other thing. Oh, Judy says, I'm always afraid to break a needle when I'm sewing my buttons on with my machine. Well, hand walk it first to make sure it goes in the holes, and then you're good. If it goes in the hole cleanly without rubbing against the side of the hole, you'll be good. You can do it. I want to show you one other thing before we go. I'm just moving my camera out of the way. This was the tee I made to wear to So Expo, and I just want to show you that if you do a blind hem on your serger and put decorative thread in your needle on your serger and take a big bite, meaning you put the needle right into that fold, so you're going to sew it just like I showed you for a blind hem. You're just going to take a bigger bite. You can make a decorative blind hem. I call this my not so blind hem. I actually need my camera back. So let me show you this. So look how fun this is. Let me make it a little bit. Oh, Brenda uses a toothpick. That's a good idea too, Brenda, because that's actually going to give you a little bit more of a um, a little bit more of a shank kind of effect. So see how nice this is? This is metallic woolly nylon. This is a reverse flat lock. So if you set your serger up for a reverse flat lock and fold the fabric the same way I showed you for a blind hem, and then trim that little ledge off, you get this when you open it up. Isn't that neat? So what I did was, on my T pattern, I straightened the hem a little bit, and I left a hole in the seam for a casing. See right there? And I have a drawstring on this. So this is like my new, and I know it's black, Mary, but I needed a neutral top to wear with my red pants. So basically, this is the top I wore to I made to wear with my red pants. Let me just show you a little bit better here. Oh, Mary says embroidery thread works well for that as well. It does. You can use any kind of decorative thread in your needle and you'll get this effect. You'll get this effect. So let me just show you here how nice this is. So see, this is like a nice little gathered hem. See? And I'm kind of annoyed with myself. I should have, if I had thought about it, I could have finished the neckline like that as well. So that's another thing you can do. But I did do it on the cuff. I sewed my cuff, and I also added the cuff. Whoops. So I sewed the cuff, and I added it on with that same technique with a reverse flat lock, see? So that was kind of fun. All right, so let me just see here. Mary says about the embroidery thread. Lean says, thanks, learned something. Thanks, learned something to put in use. Judy says, love the tie idea. Amelia says, I did the exact hem, only it was by mistake, haha. I was trying to do something else. Well, sometimes these things can be a happy accident, right? I mean, you know, but I really thought this added just a nice little pizzazz to my all black tee. And then DIYer girl says, very smart, look great in person, a subtle yet elegant eye catcher. Yes, subtle elegance, that's my middle name. Who's also trying to add more color into her wardrobe. So yay. All right, this was like super fun, you guys. I'm don't have to teach the next 2 weekends, so I'm going to make it my business to finish cleaning and organizing my room. I really want to set up my room a little bit differently because I'd like to take advantage of my loom cube. I don't know if I ever showed you guys this, but I bought one of these loom cube, okay? And look at the nice carrying box case it comes in. It's a really nice carrying case. And what does a really nice carrying case do for you? It gives you a perfect place to keep your loom cube and then you never take it out and use it. So I'm going to set it up permanently in a space that I can just turn it on and start to do some shorts and some mini little things. But look how nice this is. This is a big ring light, and you put your phone right here. So look for more short video content from me as soon as I set up a permanent spot to keep this set up, because I'm just going to turn it on every day and shoot something fun. So that's part of my goal for reorganizing my studio. And then I'll have to put this nice case somewhere so I don't lose it. But anyway, so that's FabFit Friday for today. I'm going to be starting a new project on Friday next week, and you're just gonna have to wait to see what it is because I'm not 100% sold on what I'm gonna do next. But basically, if anybody's working on their Sorcha Classic Slim trousers and needs help, please, let me know. And I'm super excited to see how your pants come out. So Lean, if you want to share pictures with me, I'll be more than happy to share them with everybody if you'd like to. Anybody else sewing, want to share things, feel free. So I'm like super excited. So I just want to thank everybody for watching today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you again very, very soon. So thank you guys for joining me. Oh, next Friday, fabric haul from So Expo. And what I might do is wash everything, but keep a swatch that's not washed. so we can compare. I don't know. I'll think of something, but we'll do fabric plus something else. I'll start a new project next week. So DIY Girl says, "Ooh, very cool. One thing I noticed from other YouTubers is the position their glasses in the light so it doesn't reflect off their glasses." Oh my God, that is so true. When I first got that LumiCube, I did a Halloween post. So if you go to my Instagram and scroll back to October, and I purposefully stood really close to the light, so I have like little circles in the lenses of my glasses. So you are right. You have to be careful with the angle, and so it doesn't reflect in your glasses. I will be playing with that. Mary says, "Great instructions. You make it look so easy. Thank you." Thanks, and thanks, and excited to get started. All right, you go get started. I'm going to sign off, and I will see you again very soon. Thank you guys for joining me. Ooh, Brenda says, "Very exciting session. Thank you." Yes, you guys have a great weekend too. Judy, have a great weekend. I will see you guys again really soon. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.